again, yeah. We are back at the 2016 Causeway Scrabble Challenge here in Malaysia. Jesse Matthews joined with Chris May to provide you coverage. And it looks like we're going to see Nigel and Mark again at the top board. I'm guessing perhaps the pairings were not what we thought they were, so yeah, they are back on.
No, this is what we were expecting, right?
Oh, I thought we were saying it was going to change to Cholapat. Never mind.
Never mind, yeah. No, I think it's going to be Nigel and Mark for the foreseeable future. Certainly this round, and then again in the next round they'll be meeting. And then there's a chance that Jesse or Toucher could overhaul them. But I'm going to give you current standings over the course of this game when we get a breeding point. I have the printout in front of me. I think the website is still around out of date. So I'm going to give you the round 22 standings when we get a moment. So I think the players look like they're taking a moment before they get underway here. Not surprised, stressful last round, and all the talk is about Nigel's play of Oregano, which we had not quite enough chance to unpack in real life, and things are, more information about that position is dribbling in from those who've put it into Quackle. So it looks like Oregano wasn't maybe 100% wins, even inferring the time penalty. It was a win against players off that G, but there were plays like Charlotte and 9-letter bingo going on down the bottom of the board that Mark could potentially have had. And so perhaps Nigel was playing for that. But really, that position, I think, Nigel was a little bit cagey when I asked him about it. Said, oh, I didn't calculate it all, 3 tiles in the bag. I don't quite buy that. I think Nigel had calculated it.
Yeah.
And I think that he was unwilling to play the time card and assume that he would get 10 extra points. I think he played the move that may have been optimal if time wasn't an issue. And that's a move that's very sporting and also a move that most top players wouldn't do. I would have absolutely assumed that I was getting the 10 points and plonked down Oregano, and that's in no way an unethical choice.
It's your responsibility to manage the time, exactly.
Nigel prefers not to play that way and ended up snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. I think there's no way he would have lost in the actual position after Oregano. So what do you guys think of that? Anyway, a new game between these two players who are still deadlocked in terms of wins in the tournament, slightly ahead of the field. Nigel's opening up with a rack that doesn't really, whose different bits don't really talk to each other. Needs that E to be an S for housewife. But he doesn't have it, so we will see what he thinks needs to happen with this rack. Really, there aren't very many good leaves he can play for here. Just scanning it, few keeping EHIU is a little bit ugly. Wife is another option.
Katipo, thanks for joining us just now. That is actually buzzing in the room. That is not coming from our equipment here. We are hearing it as well behind us, and unfortunately we cannot do much about it. Also, with respect to the delay in sound compared to the video, over lunch our producer has said that he's going to delay the video by approximately 15 seconds as it's sent out so that it lines up with the sound better. And that way we'll be able to ideally hear from you appropriately and not have to worry about whether you're hearing us in real time.
So you see Nigel take a bit of time on that play, opting for FEU. Keeping the most synergistic by far consonant pair of WH, getting rid of the U. It's actually quite a nice play. I think I like that.
Yep.
Good work, Nigel. My validation is yours. I'm sure he'll be very happy to hear it.
Mark needing an N for unpenned, not getting it.
Pretty ugly draw for Nigel there.
A T for how be it for him would be nice, but not getting that either.
He may well be playing something like WHIO on the next turn.
Wio is looking pretty good.
So, words like pendu or upend are the classical kinds of solutions for the rack that Mark has, but they don't play very nicely with the situation that Nigel's left him with. I mean, the D hooks onto FEU, but that's a little bit open for 30 points. So Mark might play a bit more cagely here and play NEP, say, at G5, keeping Dune back on his rack. You know, the U, well, it's not ideal, but when you've got an N, it improves a bit. So the choice here is really one of style. Do you prefer a short move or a long move? I think I'd probably lean towards NEP out of all the moves that I've seen so far. But this is not a straightforward play, and it's understandable that Mark will take a bit of time over it. But come on, Mark, play a bit quicker. You can't afford to get in another situation like that. You're not going to get out of jail again.
Yeah. I was going to say that I'm also leaning towards shorter in a position like this myself, and yeah, absolutely agree, Mark. I'm not going to say it was a gift, but it was certainly fortuitous. So
he was lucky to win that one. Lucky. As I put in the chat, but not everyone may have read, Mark, when I came up to the board without any prompting, said, "Oh, I was really proud of Capitan." And I said, "Well, what about Panax?" And he said, "No, I don't like that at all." So, horse is right.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't like Capitan, but I don't have the Scrabble pedigree that Mark does, and I can learn a lot from watching him play. And he must be doing something right at the top of his field.
There goes unpenned, so Mark's opted for longer, keeping ED.
I think that's a nice play. It keeps the D hook for FEU. It develops the board towards bingos. Kanji hates Capitan.
Yeah.
But I mean, Kanji, like me, has been commentating Mark's games very critically. Yet Mark's got the results in these long tournaments. So
I don't know if I'd play it, but I understand why he's done it, certainly for maximal volatility, and it worked in his favor at that point. Yeah, I'm not really a fan of it either.
So, in the current position, Nigel's got a W and an H to go on J6, but there are no obvious satisfying plays. Shots fired, says Joshua. Well, I thought that was a pretty diplomatic remark.
I thought so as well. He's got the results. Doesn't matter if we disagree with him.
Nigel's made his choice, and it's a little bit of a points grab, keeping himself the two eyes there, which most of us would think twice about, but perhaps the points there were too much to turn down. Mark doesn't quite have the rack that he would have liked. JW, so no bingo, but an easy out there with Juve at K3, that leaps off the board, keeping DITS, which is no bad leave at all. I would imagine that he'll go for that, unless I'm overlooking something better. He may also think that Nigel's leave was a little bit better than in fact it was after OWE. But Jew is kind of positionally neutral in terms of bingo lines, so not really a factor, and he's played it pretty rapidly. Glad to see he's not taking ages on that one. So again, there's an obvious scoring play for Nigel, H-A-H. You might not like it because of the S front hook. On a second and third scan of the board, there actually really aren't very many points. He might play jib, I suppose, or just AH, but nothing to the top triple because nothing hooks the U. Nothing decent that I can see around the centre of the board. Mullen Hill in defence of Mark's Capitan play there. So, yeah, kind of move that really divides expert opinion.
Yeah, and to be fair, I just said I wouldn't play it personally, but I understand that it's for maximal volatility and scoring opportunities, so I totally understand it. I'm saying I wouldn't do it.
And I don't think Nigel would have made the Capitan setup, to be perfectly honest. But who knows? This is speculation. Nigel opts for BAH. Can't really argue with that. Counterplay available, but not a huge concern. And Mark takes the low-hanging fruit. That plays off his counterplay. It's a classic three-ladder staircase battle.
Yeah.
And always playing the third column from the edge is the safe, sort of the last safe play. In this case, however, it's a little bit less safe because there are big points available from N2 to N6 if Nigel happens to have the tiles. An E is obviously required, and Nigel doesn't have one.
Josh is arguing for ticks and A's instead of just tick.
I think that's a perfectly reasonable play as well. So, as we wait for this board to develop a bit, I'm going to take you through the current standings. In fact, I don't need to give you them in detail because the website has now been updated. So if you head on to causewaychallenge.com, click through the results, you'll be able to find full current standings for the Premier Division, which means that I can just give you a quick run through verbally. And we only have two players, that's the current two, on 16 wins. Nigel has almost 1,000 points spread over Mark, whose spread is really languishing within the top 10, only 183. Probably something to do with a handful of beatings from Nigel.
Yeah.
And there are only two players on 15. Jesse Day and Tacha Huirat, who are facing off on board 2. David Eldar and Dave Wiegand are facing off on board 3. They're on 14 and 13.5 respectively. And after that the field bunches. Common, Alistair Richards, Andrew and Cholapat, four incredibly strong players, are on 13, along with Saidu of Nigeria. So really, that's an extraordinarily strong top 11 between 13 and 16 wins. For more detailed standings, have a look at causewaychallenge.com. You'll be able to see all of the current pairings for this round. It's a straight King of the Hill draw by the looks of it. And Nigel played RAGI, is that correct?
Yeah.
And Mark's looking at a slightly frustrating rack. which could be handled in a few different ways, really, depending on what he thinks is important in the position. So he's isolated L, Y, R and D on his rack, but nowhere to go for Liard. Dead even scores. Can't see anything over to the Eastern triple, despite holding the D, the R and the S. Am I missing one? Just do a quick sub-anagram search of the rack. The only 6-letter word from this rack is lyrist. Doesn't cut it.
Interesting. It looks like Mark has opted for jacks and its, going for points.
If he'd gone for pure points, he would have played ids. He loves that D hook on FEU. He's really intending to use that, and I guess he likes the
O takes the D hook as well. Yeah.
He thinks the D is a valuable tile on the board and can't really argue with it. Guess he's a bit worried about what Nigel might do with that N column after RAGI. Probably thinks there's a strong chance of E in the leave. In fact, Nigel still doesn't have the E. And he can just drop ticks for 30 points if he wants to, and keep what's really a fairly flexible HILMST and wait for something to happen on the board. And that's exactly what Nigel's done. So it's a little bit frustrating for both players here. Neither of them is getting quite the flexibility of rack that they'd like to. I mean, really, both players would quite like to get a bingo at some stage, and it's not quite happening right now. Again, I'm just going to quickly sub-anagram Mark's rack to see if he can reach over. He can't. The only 6-tile play from this rack is Volery.
No better for reaching over than before.
Yep.
As mentioned, IDS would have been worse because of possible XI plays, but I'm not sure he would have been thinking about that when making that play.
Yeah, no, lots of respect for playing ITS there. It's the correct play for a number of different reasons. As between IDS and ITS. And, really, I don't think anyone came up with anything better for that position, so just slowing down Nigel a bit in the short term is very plausible. He's not got much to write home about here, though. I mean, he clearly doesn't want to burn the D. At some point he might have to.
Something like Davy certainly stands out early on, even though LOR is not a great leave. He's got Davy lined up, sure enough.
LOR is a little bit weak. But I'm not saying he has great options to choose from. Far from it. And I don't know, Mark might be tempted to play as defensively as possible here, given Nigel's last 2 turns. Mark's going to be range finding, it'll be suggesting a bingo from Nigel coming up quite soon. So indeed he does elect to take, that's a play that I was thinking of suggesting, Vardy, which is basically designed to take out some of Nigel's 7s. And the V is about as useless as as you could put in the double-double. You know, lots of times if Nigel does have an 8 through that V, it's going to end a square before the double-double. I think that's a decent play from Mark, I like it. Designed to make sure that Nigel's bingos are as
controlled.
Yeah, as controlled as possible, while trying to sort out his own rack as best he can. What do you guys think of Vardy? Let us know in the chat. I think it's a position where quite a few different plays were arguable. A very cagey exchange of plays here. Nigel playing for balance in bingo with dialed. And that allows a long leaf, if I'm not mistaken.
That is a word.
Yes, found it. So, nice break from Mark there. Allowing him to take the lead.
And by the way, if it is a handle I'm not aware of, I apologize, but Mick Thibault, I'm not sure who you are. Are you active on the tournament scene? I apologize again if I don't know who you are, but would love to know. There goes long leaf.
No mistakes from Mark with 8-letter bingos. Very, very strong there. And looks like a useful rack for Nigel, but on this board I'm yet to see anything better than Zoism, and that keeps 2 T's.
Michael Clow. Okay, this makes sense. Hello.
Hello,
I have definitely met you before. Welcome and thank you for joining us.
Nigel may well not like Zoism here, with whatever other high scoring Z plays that might be available. He might prefer something like Zati to balance and continue playing for the bingo. Whatever he's got in mind, he's already executed.
What about Tiz or Miz?
Yeah, we didn't really get a chance to look through all the options there. So I think we'll just wait and see what he's done.
He has done Tiz. There you go.
Yeah. Nice play. Plenty of points. Great leave. M's very nice with OST.
And as Jesse Day found out on board one very recently, Tiz does not take an E as a hook on the end.
Do not put an E on Tiz. Wow, nice pickup that Mark Nyman.
An E.
Time card is playable.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
Top
okay.
row.
I was thinking, I see a set of mid, I see Decimate and Medicate, but there you go, time card.
Bingo, and Mark Nyman may be on track for 2 straight wins against Nigel Richards, which would be really good for this tournament. Oh, but his rack has changed. He's been given an O instead of the D.
An O.
And that is less conducive to bingo. He needs the old E for Ako Imeti. I'm sad.
Yeah.
I prefer the other rack. Meanwhile, Nigel's got an ominous looking AEMOPST. It doesn't make a 7 though. Or even an 8 with the R, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, I look at that and I always have to remember that Metapuzz is not valid. Metope becomes Metope with the AE at the end.
They're both players looking at very bingo looking racks that don't actually bingo. And these are hard racks to handle, you know, and no less hard for experts than anybody else. Mark's got 43-point lead to play with, and he'll be looking at plays down to the bottom triple. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Nomic has just come into the list. That was previously only Monic, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Nomic's an option, but We've seen that Mark's a little bit board blind on first W15. He outright missed a play with Was and EEW last game, and also may have missed X-Ray, though we're not sure as well.
Kenji is suggesting Motific through the IF on the right side of the board.
That's a nice play, although, Kenji, would you not be worried about the possibility of high-scoring replies? I guess the J and the Z are both down, so that mitigates it slightly. High-scoring replies to the east. Motific is nice for not giving too many floaters.
It looks like he might be doing that, in fact.
So, nice to see a strategic rapprochement between Mark Nyman and Kenji on this turn.
Let's see. Does he actually do it? Yeah. There she blows.
We're all friends
Nice one.
here.
Nice one.
No bingo with the C for Nigel. But
Homo is immediately available
Homo is
there.
very nice, yeah. Again, a not quite bingo draw for Mark. I think I'm expecting to see Jesse's just play of Homo here from Nigel. I see no reason not to do that. Or the anagram of Moop.
There you go. Same
Moops.
difference.
The Moops. Any Seinfeld fans out there?
Nice.
Bubble Boy episode. What an excellent episode.
Craig Beaver suggests Abzi at D12. Or 12D, pardon me.
Yeah, that is a very nice play. Gives absolutely nothing away and consolidates the lead to almost a bingo lead. Youch, that's a scary rack that Nigel's got
Very
there.
nice rack.
But again, I don't think it's a bingo, is it? But I mean, you can play that off in 2 turns, get some points for your Q and then bingo. Most times, in the average middle game position, but in this case, Quar up the top, well, it creates a hook with Aqua for a bingo line, but it does knock off the play across to the northwest in triple as well. So Nigel's not getting it all his own way with that rack.
Yeah, Abzi is a pretty nice play.
I really like Absi. I think it's a great find. It's absolutely correct to use the S.
For that many points, absolutely.
Well, it's there to be used on dials. You know, it's the only place to use it on this board.
Yeah.
So,
Otherwise not conducive, so absolutely.
yeah. Bingos with a blank Z, hooking Tiz, coming down later in the game.
Yeah, just to answer your question, Jason, yes, on a board 1 game, Jesse Day did in fact hook Tiz with an E against Nigel, and it was challenged off. Well, not instantaneously, it took about 20 seconds for the challenge to happen.
And it was in a pretty competitive middle game position, so we think if Jesse hadn't done that, he might have been able to go 4-0 against Nigel in his first 4 games within this tournament, which would have been something to boast about, especially in Jesse's less preferred dictionary.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's still 3-2 up on him in this tournament, which is also impressive.
Pretty cool. And still running, in 3rd place overall in the fields with a fairly good spread, so he's having a really awesome tournament, Jesse Day, given that he's played Nigel more times than nearly anyone. Mark, sorry, taking a bit of time here. Possibly hasn't seen Abse, which, to be completely honest, isn't an easy play to find.
It's really
I
obscure.
wouldn't be totally sure of seeing it.
There we go. There's my.
So he may have missed it, or he may have chosen not to play it. He may like the AEIN sleeve after buy. Not very much. Luckily for him, doesn't leave Nigel with a whopping great Q bingo. And, well, given that play from Mark, I expect to see Qua go down, which leaves Nigel with two nice bingo lines. Of course, both players like the look of bingo lines here. It's a little bit of an airball for Mark, though, I think, right? AEGINIINS certainly isn't a 7.
I call those mocking racks, where they're very close, but they're not bonus racks.
Yeah, this doesn't really do anything, so maybe a little bit of an awkward choice here for Mark. He's going to again be defending only a half bingo, and when you're defending a half bingo and you don't have a bingo yourself, it's a little bit painful to take a low scoring turn. You're getting a bit worried, and well, after Moop and Qua, Mark's going to know that Nigel's leave isn't too shoddy at all.
Yeah.
So
There goes Quays.
I'm very interested by that. Guys, do tell us what you think of Quays as a play by Nigel as the trailing player. It looks like he's worried about Mark's bingo. That's the only explanation I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, what did he leave with that again?
ET.
ET.
He's picked up nascent. Doesn't seem to go.
So lots of vowels in the bag, and the reason to play Quays is JKB. But then if Mark really wanted to play KG and make this difficult, he can just plop something small up on the top row, and then that's that. There's just 9s, or you have to open something desperately. So positionally, I'm just wondering, he's obviously seen something that we're not, but I mean, I guess the V there is still for IVE words or something like this, but he didn't leave anything like that.
So the old 3 vowel 2 consonant leave problem is being suggested. I think that's reasonable. For me, that would not tip the balance by itself in favour of Quays over Qua. I have a feeling it's something to do with Mark taking a long time and then playing BY. Kenji also points out that quite could have been played.
Down to 322, 21, 20. Not a whole lot left over there.
Mark's short of time again. Weak.
So it looks like Geo is going down for Mark on the O and or Agio, pardon me.
Yeah, so the fact that Quays was played instead of Quite leaves, possible bingos on row 14. Suggests to me that defence must have been forefront of Nigel's mind, which is very interesting. Playing so defensively, 70 points down, really immobilising bingos in a massive section of the board. I'm very fascinated by that. I don't pretend to be able to explain it. It's not textbook play at all from Nigel.
And yeah, off the bat, I'd be inclined to disagree with locking it up, but there's got to be a good reason for it.
No, he thinks it's his best path to victory, clearly.
Oh, look at that. Legion and a blank.
And this looks great for Mark. He can play across to A1 if it's left undisturbed by Nigel here. And, I mean, guys, isn't Nigel now forced to play for a bingo? And isn't the board sort of bad for that because of Quays?
Quite bad, yeah, that's the problem with it.
Wow.
And yeah.
He,
points and points.
Doesn't think he needs to open yet.
He's almost just expecting it to happen for him, which it will, because Mark's going to bonus this turn.
Joshua wants us to say that Nigel has choked the game. Well, look, I certainly disagree with Quays.
Yeah.
I would never have played it. I would always have played Qua. If I was playing 5 tiles from 13C, I would have played Quite. So Mark's going to get a bingo. I see he's winner with the S in second position. There might be others. Oh wait, is that not a word? It's not a word actually. So maybe something else needs to be found. I'd forgotten that E-loiner can only be spelled one way.
With the G as well.
Ah, right. And not the way I was looking. So let's find something else.
S-loined works, but not S-liner.
So no, he does have other options. He's got encloser, a licensor, lionizer as well. So there are options. Nigel, nice draw. 2 sevens in that, Rouse and Santor, but again, he doesn't have anywhere to put them. He's got courants though, yeah. Okay. Bit of a low ball. He's lucky to have it at all. Lionizer could easily have been played. So I think, we're going to take the plunge and be critical of Nigel here.
Yeah, I think it's just, to be honest, guys, it's true. Marlon did say if Nigel did that, then we wouldn't be so critical. I mean, part of it is just being respectful of the pinnacle of play that he has and what he's achieved, It doesn't mean that we can't disagree with him. I think we even both said before you mentioned that we probably wouldn't, but there's probably a reason for it, and I stand by that. There's got to be a reason in his mind for it. I just personally wouldn't do it either.
There is a reason for it. These are two of the best players in the world. They don't make plays for no reason.
Yeah.
And we're fully conscious of the fact that we're commentating on 2 players who are much better than we are, and we're being watched by players who are better than we are as well.
Yeah.
Nigel plays courants, and this leaves 4 tiles in the bag. And Mark is to play with D-E-E-L-R-R-R. Now he has a bit of work to do because there is a blank in the pool on Saint Him, and some bingo-y tiles to go with it. But there's only one bingo line on the board, and again, this is Nigel's doing. Nigel's the one who made sure that happened, and he was the trailing player.
Look what he's picked.
So Nigel has a nice rack, ovated blank, and La Vaulted plays from that L. So
Mark is down to 20 seconds.
There's some danger here. There's some danger here for Mark. I hope he just realises that there's only one place for Nigel to go and just blocks the hell out of it. Very nice positional play. That's cool head under pressure. Doesn't make the mistake of giving a floater lower down the A column, which a couple of us might have done in a panic. Plays Lada and empties the bag. With any luck, that's a winning endgame for Mark Nyman. And
what has he got? Has he got 3 E's IOR?
Okay, so maybe it's not entirely out of the woods yet. Nigel's got a very, very flexible rack.
Mark does not.
Mark's got rubbish, total nonsense on his rack, and also possibly, very likely a 10-point penalty. So Nigel has to catch up 32 points in his endgame, which is not at all beyond the realms of possibility. Joshua says Nigel wins. I assume that's because of Quackle in the endgame. So help us out. Is it an out in 2? What's the best play here?
I'm assuming something like cave or cove, and then something, or cove, pardon me, and then something else after that, plus the time penalty. Yeah, because Dita plays underneath Quays, assuming that nothing's played there.
Cove looks pretty threatening. Yes, a bad draw for Mark. He was under time pressure. Maybe he should have held one of those consonants back. The D particularly could have been handy here, just to get enough scoring power for his next turn.
So in the chat they're saying that after Cove, Ire can just be played underneath Quays and is possibly enough to outrun. Is that even factoring in for the -10 on the time?
Yes. Interesting question. Is Nigel... I mean, it's an endgame, so Nigel will play it optimally, I guess. He doesn't really have to assume that Mark's going to go overtime. He'll play it optimally either way. It's almost the same ethical dilemma he faced in the last game, which he played sportingly. So, guys who are running Quackle, it'd be helpful if you could tell us outright, is it a win for Nigel with the scores the way they are, not allowing for time, or is it only a win for Nigel with time taken into account? Please let us know the optimal combo, it would be great to hear.
Yeah, Yogi with the Y and the G from Barty and Longleaf is there to clear some of his letters. That's nice.
That's really nice. So Nigel's got to think about that. And Mark hopefully has a bit of time to find that while Nigel's calculating the end game. It's weird, isn't it? Nigel's taking a bit of time here. We saw a game on day 1 or day 2 where he apparently calculated 8 endgames in 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Which may suggest that he's actually looking at a lost position and trying to find a win from it. But we're speculating. I'm very, very mystified by, as I've said a couple of times on the commentary, by the moves that Nigel chooses to take time on. Sometimes it's when he's sitting on 100% or 0% wins. And indeed, this is one such a position because it's an endgame, so he does have either 100% or 0% wins.
JJ, let's see, it's 41 up from Mark. This is a tough position. I mean, off the top of my head, it looks like Nigel should squeak this one out, but I don't know.
Well, Yogi's pretty decent score. Okay, try and do some hard work and see if we can figure this out. Yogi's 18 points, and the turnover is going to be 6, so it's now 12 net for Mark, taking his lead to 53, or 43 the time penalty. So Nigel needs to get a minimum of 44 points with his 2 turns. That looks very doable. If the first one is Cove, he's only going to need 17 on the second play.
Yeah, I think I agree with Kenji here. The time is what's going to make the difference. Without the loss of time, I think Mark could hold on to this one.
Right, so Nigel needs to make about 54 points. That looks very hard. 44 points, by contrast, looks pretty doable. So I hope Mark's... It all depends on the clock.
So Octad is what Nigel is opting for. Or has he just played Octa to set it up? Oh, ooh, that is, wow, gorgeous.
That sets up more than enough points.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Lovely end game. by my calculation, that sets up easily enough points to overcome Yogi, even not allowing for time.
Wow.
Super play. Nothing my
That's
opponent
the
can do.
worst feeling in the world, sitting there knowing there is diddly squat and Vibe is going to come down and seal this one.
So Nigel gets home by virtue of the second blank in a position where we thought he sacrificed some winning chances with that cue play. Very difficult position for Mark to defend. Lada was a good try, and indeed Nigel was sitting on vaulted. Slightly, I'm not sure guys, but it seems to me possible that with a different kind of block to Lada, one that kept a bit more flexibility on the rack, and kept the D, for example, Mark may have been able to defend that endgame, but as it turns out he couldn't, and we're going to see a very, very coolly played endgame win from Nigel Richards, showing why he's the best player in the world and taking him to a 1 point lead over the field again, and probably lining him up for another game with Mark. So what a game. What a pair of games.
Beauty.
What a pair of games between these two guys. Really great stuff.
Beautiful game. Off to great foresight. So we are 20 minutes past the hour here. Next game should be starting at, are we not on lunch yet, are we? I think we have
One more game before lunch goes. And I think that it's going to be a rematch.
Well, so far we've been up to some nice games here. It's been a great treat. So we're looking forward to another great one before lunch.
So round 24 is the next game, and in fact, I can confirm that the pairing will be Richards Nyman on the top table. And perhaps we've seen a win from Nigel that Mark should have won, and a win from Mark that Nigel should have won.
Yeah, certainly. Quays is definitely the big one that definitely generated the most discussion in this game. A few reasons to defend it, and I'll just put myself out there and say I wouldn't have played it. You said the same thing.
Yep. But he got away with it.
He did.
Okay guys, it's too much excitement for me, so I'm going to go and take a break, and I look forward to seeing you all for another, I'm sure, engaging match between Nigel and Mark in game 24. Don't go away.
We'll be back in just under 10 minutes. See you then.